matter and that engage the youth. Next, please. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about creativity and commerce. I have tried as much as possible to use platforms that you're aware of. To just say this, I started Boomplay in 2016, and I left when I raised $20 million for Boomplay, and I moved to MTN Group in 2019, and I also started Arewa before I went back to private practice to raise funds. But if you look at this platform, they are very popular in Africa, even in Nigeria and even in the North. It's either you're watching funny videos on YouTube, you're shopping on Amazon, you're listening to music on Boomplay, short content on TikTok, using channels and cheap communication via Arewa, or you're buying something from AliExpress. All these channels have nothing unique about them. What is unique about them is the knowledge that existed before they were created. AliExpress is just selling what traditional Chinese people create. It doesn't differentiate between who is educated and who is not educated. It doesn't also differentiate between who can speak a specific language or not. What it simply does is that it aggregates creators in China and then anywhere in the world and allows them to sell their market based on their pricing and what they choose. And in fact, when we look at it about, let me say 25 years ago when Alibaba himself started it, Jack Ma started itself, it was simply a platform that was supposed to rival a Western competition. There was nothing superficial about it. There was no AI, there was no IoT. It was simply looking to solve a native problem, to make sure that an average Chinese man can develop a product and can sell it. It wasn't complex. And the same thing with YouTube. YouTube, a channel where whatever you watch, you can put it out there. I can go on with Amazon. It started as a website where you can borrow books and return books. And if I talk about Boomplay, we started it out as just trying to solve a problem that artists release catalogs and don't get paid. So how do we make sure an average Nigerian can pay? And when I got to MTN, what did we do? Why did we start Arewa? We said messaging is too expensive for Africans. Sending videos, pictures through WhatsApp or Telegram might be very expensive for Africans. So we developed an app that is zero rated by telco that would allow you to do transaction and allow you to own channels. And TikTok, which was formerly Byte Musically, where people can sing. So what am I saying? All these multi-million-dollar platforms did not start as trying to solve complex problems. They did not start by loading IP, AI. They did not start by getting it right. They were only started by solving one or two basic problems that has no differentiating factor among those that it served. And it, as much as possible, did not consider huge financial. When we started Boomplay at about 2015 to 2016, we only had a budget of $15,000. And that budget, when I mean $15,000, it includes salaries, rents, homes. And at that time, $15,000 was very much less than, I think was less than 5 million. So what am I saying? What I'm saying here to you is that when you look at all the technologies that take over the life of young people, and as much a lot of people from the age of 55 downwards now, they were not solving complex problems. They were solving problems that you and I, and creating opportunities that you and I experience every day. Next. Now, my presentation is just among three things: people, platform, and product. That is what technology enables. That is what technology brings out. And when we think about technology, these three cardinal points is how we can leverage IP for our people and make sure that it changes life. So the first one is people. We need to ask ourselves, are we identifying and supporting talented individuals? And when we mean talented individuals, I mean individuals without barrier. no education barrier, no financial inclusion barrier, and no onboarding barrier. Well, the question to ask, do we have a platform that maps what the people do, how they do it, where they do it, and what are the challenges they face? So I'll give you, for example, Kano has the largest leather market, both from creation and sales. Have we focused on those people? Because we have to be investors in people for us to be able to leverage the impact of technology. No matter how beautiful the technology we build is, as long as it cannot account for the people involved, it is absolutely useless. And that is the reason why a lot of fintech companies who rushed, or a lot of companies who rushed into fintech trying to raise money always end up failing. Or some white elephant project tech companies would rather maybe go, for example, into maybe DNA, blood sampling. It's a good thing, but the question is, are we in a society where the people who need this tech, do they understand this technology? Are they willing to adopt this technology? I've had some conversations here where, earlier when people were talking about community and people don't build silos. Unfortunately, that's the way the world is going. Technology has revealed to us via data that people actually prefer to be onboarded on technology that understands their language, understands their culture, speaks to their nuances, and is not willing to change their lifestyle. When you deploy technology that doesn't take into consideration of the environment and the people and what they create, it is very hard to leverage that IP. Next. Now we go to product. We already know, I can't use this platform to be discussing with you what product exists in the North, what product are people looking for. Everyone here, you know what you spend majority of your money on. If you don't spend it on food, you spend it on household items, transportation, and family. And are we creating enough markets? We all know that Kano itself specifically serves a lot of sub-Saharan countries with a lot of these products. Kannywood serves a lot of sub-Saharan countries, the leather market, the coffee market, the groundnut market. Are we using tech to enable these products, both from the people's perspective who are creating and from those that are selling? Are we using tech to unify them? Are we allowing ease of trade? I know most times when we talk about tech, everybody talks about collection. We are going to collect money from them. How can we get them to onboard? Unfortunately, that has not been working. And that's the reason why you realize that majority of the Chinese products in Africa has been successful. The Chinese have mastered the art of ensuring that the funnel of onboarding is wide, and if it's possible, nobody drops off. And that is why when you look at companies who have been in Africa for 20, 15, 30, more than 2 decades, they've not been able to achieve what the Chinese are achieving. Because when Chinese are building products or they are building a platform around products, which I'll go further on, they've mastered the art of allowing barriers to not exist. Understanding the people and the product and how they interact with it, whether it's from a creating perspective or whether it's from a buying perspective. The next one. Now, everybody talks about AI. Everybody talks about IoT. But the question is, how does AI and IoT works? They simply work with data. Without data, artificial intelligence is irrelevant. Without data, IoT is irrelevant. And whether we like it or not, across Nigeria, we do not have enough data. We need data to be able to build platforms that are able to advance us to the next stage. We cannot simply ignore the basic steps, the basic stage to jump into a future that we've not walked into. And that explains the idea of the reasons why our traditional banks are not able to provide financial inclusion. So we started focusing on OPay, PalmPay, MoneyPoint. It's because we've had a banking institution that doesn't know the people, does not know the product, and doesn't even know the platform to build for them. And so you can see that opportunity in the financial sector, but that opportunity also exists across all sectors. Whether it's manufacturing, SME manufacturing, or whether it's creative industry, whether it's farming and agriculture, we need to understand what we are investing in, how we are investing in research and development. We need to also understand how we are utilizing it specifically for our own people. I have said several times that in Africa and Nigeria, and even in the northern Nigeria here, we cannot use technology to solve our problem until we are able to localize technology. And when I mean localize, it's in language, it's in people who are running the app, and it's in the people who are communicating with the people who are running the app. Without that, we are only going to cover a microcosm of our society of people who had highly exposure to internet, but not necessarily solving any problem. Next. So, I've said 3 things, and you're wondering, you've said so many things. Has this been used before? Have you tried before? I have so many things we are doing that for, where we are modernizing existing IP. But I think the one that will resonate with everyone here is a common thing that happened during the last regime. In the last regime in the Southwest, we had so many issues of people talking about Fulani headsmen, misconstrued information, media lies, and a lot of unhealthy tension. And everybody, particularly the young people, we failed our generation in that last 8 years. We decided to live on the horses of the media as opposed to us drilling down. But I tried something. I and a group of people tried something. There's a town somewhere in Osun State. It's called Akinlalu. And that town has a place called Aba Fulani. That place has Fulani people living there on the 4th generation. So it means those who live in there have been living there for nothing less than maybe 100 years. Which means those kids who were born there, they can't necessarily speak Fulani very well. It's one they learned from their family and their neighborhood. And the last regime came, and what do we have? This heat got to that town, and we had constant clashing of people from the town, the already existing community that has been there for years and had no issues. It's a community of a herding community. So when we got there, what did we do? We simply followed the 3: the products, the people, and the platform. We deployed technology. We mapped all the Fulani headsmen there. We also mapped their cow. We mapped their land. We designed what we call a conflict peace resolution environment, where everyone come every weekend, every once a weekend, to discuss the farming community, to identify the new herders there, to know where the cow went to. You know what we further did? We further used that technology and that mapping to build what we call a cross-processing center, which means the Fulani there can use the processing center to process their animals and their livestock that actually go through what we call mortality, so we can cut down mortality rates. And then the local farmers there also can also use the drying center to actually dry their fruit. So what we simply did, we didn't do anything new. We deployed technology to know who is in the community, what are they doing in the community, what products do they have, and then we'd use that knowledge that we have to build a system that works. I can tell you, this is our pictures from the community. And I can tell you for a fact that that community has not had any farmer-herder clash disputes since 2021. It's been about 3 years, but this is what leveraging native IP does in an environment. It is very fun for us to show fintech, for us to show edutech, and for us to show varieties of platform. But when we show platforms that doesn't advance the lives of those who have not yet been exposed to internet, if we are trying to liberate those who are already liberated, we are not leveraging IP. What we are doing is using IP to redefine a system and solving problems where there are no problems. In fact, maybe creating a complex one for ourselves. Next. Cultural appropriation, because those are the problems we see. For example, there are a lot of fintech products that are developed in the Southwest that cannot be adopted in the North because it's not halal compliant. It doesn't understand the language of the people. It doesn't understand the business processes. And a lot of it are shielded around processes that an average person from the north cannot simply seem to stand by. So how do we make that easy? How are we able to talk to someone? How are we able to adopt a community? How are we able to allow technology to penetrate without apathy? And it's very simple. We have to allow communities access to shared products. It is very easy to convince people to leverage IP when you allow them to come together to build a community, and an example is the Community Technology Center. An example or a bad case of it is the conversation that is being had during the End Bad Governance protests, and everybody says there's a boy carrying a computer and walking away. I do not blame him. I might be on the very, very end of people not agreeing with me, but you can't give gold to a monkey. A monkey does not know what gold is. You can't give a banana to an ant. You give to people what is suited to them. You cannot train people in a system that they do not understand, or bring a system that is far ahead of them based on the data that belongs to another community entirely. Before you get to a stage where you begin to onboard people out of a community, when that community itself is not uplifted, you cannot be doing single or what we call rush to development. If you truly want to develop people and you want them to embrace technology, you start with their community. You do not bring a boy from Bagauda to travel 10 miles every day to center of Kano to come and learn technology. Half of the way he's tired. When he gets here, he's thinking about what to eat at home to the child. Then we have to learn to modernize traditional practices. There are so many traditional practices that we are being told that is wrong, and we need to move forward. It's what I grew up with. I grew up in a farming family. It is very hard to tell someone you need to ranch your cows. You don't need to give them this. You need to do that. Technology, health tracking technology is deployed. Netherlands herds. Netherlands is a country that is not as big as Kaduna, but it's an herding country with traditional process of herding. Add technology to it, ensure that it does not deter the lifestyle of the people that they met with it. It's not using technology to force alien system to people. Technology should not change our system, should not lead us towards westernization. It should give us modernization. Then we also have, obviously, promoting sustainable collaborations, allowing people to adopt systems that bring people together, that takes from one person into another and brings value to everybody on one table. And obviously, I've talked about pursuing investment. Everything revolves around money. If we talk about building collaboration, building system, leveraging IP, we talk about money. But what I usually say is, before money comes value. The only reason why Nigeria has suffered and been unable to build system that works is because we chase money, not value. As opposed to building value and now determine what money do we need to build the value. We discuss the money first. When we get the money, then we discuss the value that we want to achieve. Thank you very much. This is my presentation, and I hope I've been able to enlighten you.
Please, a round of applause for him once again. Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you very much. The next session is another panel session. But before then, please, can there be decorum in the house? If there can be decorum, that would be so nice. For those people who are behind talking, please, it's very distracting and it is not nice. It's very obvious that your noise is actually distracting, please. So for the panel session, this session is going to be about the ecosystem panel, incubator and accelerators, nurturing startup ecosystem. So it is very simple. And our moderator for this session is the managing director, the managing partner, Ignite Capital, Mr. Fahad Garba. Is he here with us? Mr. Fahad? Mr. Fahad Garba? I don't know if he's here. Okay, Mr. Fahad. Please, a round of applause for him. So he's going to be our moderator for this beautiful session. Sir, you're welcome. Please, I would like you to be at the far right. No, can you come? Just, yeah, this place, yes. Thank you. So we have our panelists for this session. The first panelist is a social impact and development expert. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for Aisha Tofa. She is our first panelist for today. Aisha Tofa, you're welcome. And also for the next panelist, she is the founding partner, TT Labs and Aduna Capital. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Suraya Ahmed. Ahmed Idris, please, this is your time. And also we have project coordinator. And also we have project coordinator, Enterprise Development Center, Pan Atlantic University. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy again, please, a round of applause for Halima Rabiu as she comes. So, these are our panelists for today, and also our moderator. Mr. Fahad Garbasa, are you ready for this very wonderful session?
Yes.
But before then, please just give me a moment. But before then, for the master classes, I don't know if it's still going on. Is it? Is it still on? All right, so now we have two studios, like I said earlier on. We have the Studio 1 and also the Studio 2. Studio 1 is actually by your right, while Studio 2 is actually by your left. So if you know you are actually part of this wonderful, master class, kindly stand up and then be part of these people. Thank you very much. This is your time, Mr. Fahad.
How long do we have?
Okay. Now let's do it this way. Can we make it 40 minutes? Is it possible you make use of 40 minutes?
For both the panel and the Q&A?
For everything. Let's just make it very, very snappy, please.
We'll try.
Thank you so very much.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, for this great opportunity. And I want to thank all our panelists for taking their time here. And I hope we can learn from their wealth of experience. So we are here to discuss about accelerators, incubators, and how do we nurture the ecosystem. So I think it's important to start with the basics. What is an accelerator? What is an incubator? And what is the difference? So maybe I will start with Ahmed Idris. Maybe if you can please briefly explain and define the difference for us.
Okay, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ahmed Idris and I'm the Executive Director at Innovate Lab. We're an innovation hub based here out of Kano. And the quick definition to what accelerators and incubators are is that incubators are like a hatchery for ideas, right? There are places where you go with just ideas and then you come out with a business or a type of solution or a product or a prototype. While an accelerator is if you already have an existing business, a startup or a business that is already in the market, or you already have some form of traction or you're doing some sort of business, you go into that accelerator to become better, where you are being armed with more tools and resources that will fast track your growth and help you scale. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that difference. So Aisha Tofa, maybe let me have you explain what does an accelerator entail and what does an incubator entail. And what kind of ideas should you have to try and get into an incubator? So please maybe just elaborate on that a bit.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Tofa. I am a social impact and development specialist. So basically, let's start with what kind of ideas do you need to have to join an incubator or an accelerator? So basically, there are no specific ideas. As long as your idea is going to change a problem that a society is facing, you're good to go. As long as your idea is going to generate revenue, you're good to go. So it's all about, for me, it's all about social impact. As long as you're impacting somebody, making a change, changing how things are being done, or you see a problem in your community and then you want to find a solution to it, you're good to go to incubation. So going back to the phases or processes in terms of incubation and acceleration. So usually incubation comes first. And when we're talking about incubation, we're talking about, it's just like hatching an egg, incubating an egg, a chicken egg, right? So you have an idea and then you want to build a solution for that idea. So foundation comes first. It's just like you're building a house. You have to lay a very solid foundation. And solid foundation in incubation is about the ideation phase, where you would go through some classes to talk about ideation. Is this idea making sense? Can it even come out with an MVP, a minimum viable product? Is it even a problem? Would people use it? So that is where a lot of research comes in. That is where a lot of learning comes in. And that is where, if we don't get it right, we can never have a solid MVP. The idea will keep shaking and blinking, right? So incubation is very, very crucial. It's just basically a foundation of every solution that you have in mind. While acceleration is that phase where you've already built a product, you're either trying to scale it, or you've already scaled, but then you're facing some challenges, and then you need to accelerate it from point A to point B. So acceleration can come in so many phases. It could be you changing your business model. It could be you pivoting. It could be you fixing the business model. So it's just moving from point A to point B. That is what acceleration is all about. But then there are processes, there are phases that you have to go through. And that is why we have incubators and accelerators. Each of them has their own work. So it's a process. You cannot start from acceleration. You have to start from incubation, as long as you're in ideation stage. Unless you're in the market, then you can go for acceleration. So startup founders need to understand this before just applying for incubation anytime, or just seeing an acceleration program and saying, I want to join. So I hope that answers the question.
So if I get you right, it's possible for a startup to have different kind of accelerator at different phases of a startup journey, right? So, all right, thank you. Maybe let me ask Halima, since at EDC they do capacity training for startups, what are some challenges that do you face in running these programs? And since you run a national program, how do you see the northern region as compared to other startups from other parts of the country? And what opportunities do you see as well within that space?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Like you said, my name is Halima Rabiu, and I'm from Enterprise Development Center. We're based in Lagos, but we have presence in Abuja, Kano as well. And some of the key challenges that a lot of startups face is, firstly, that I've found out, is access to information. So there's a lot of information out there on accelerators, on how they can access finance, but it does not necessarily get to the right people. That's one. And also access to market, I would say, is also a big deal. Because yes, in as much as you have the product or the service, that doesn't necessarily mean you have the right market for you to be able to sell your products and services. And another key thing is access to finance. We have found out that a lot of businesses and startups always say that, we don't have the necessary finance to start up our business. However, in as much as it can be a challenge, it can also be an opportunity, because if you start small, you'll be able to manage your funds better and you'll be able to bootstrap. So most times, when you ask startups, how did you start your business? They would say, oh, I started with family and friends or from my personal savings. And then that's where you also get the resilience and also the discipline to be able to manage larger funds should they come to you. So I would say, number one, challenges would be access to information, access to networks and markets, linkages, and then also access to funds. However, starting up small may also be an opportunity for startups and businesses, because they'll be able to learn. So like Aisha mentioned, as long as you're solving a problem, then you're providing value, right? And if you're providing value, all the necessary support and support should follow. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So we know that Lagos in particular attract a lot of funding, right? VC funding. They have a very vibrant angel investor network. All the billion-dollar startups in Nigeria, started out of Lagos. So maybe I will ask you, Ahmed, is how do we bridge that funding gap, and what can we learn from what Lagos is doing so that we can benefit from those kind of opportunities too?
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. You asked me a very vast question, Fahad. So I think it's well known that everybody talks about the startup ecosystem, and then we look at Lagos first because of the amount of achievement that they have and the number of successful startups that are counted as unicorns in the country. So if we are asking the question, how do we bridge the gap? There are problems from the beginning to the end. There are problems with startups. There are problems with government. There are problems with both the accelerators and incubators. There are problems that we are not connecting the dots. There are silo efforts being made by different people that we don't have a cluster of a platform. I will try to summarize this to the best possibility. So, talking about startups, you see, one of the challenges we have is, right now, even though it has reduced, is that we don't have enough tech talents that are going to feed the ecosystem. Until recently, the number of tech talents coming out of the ecosystem is quite small compared to what's happening in the other parts of the region. I have met a number of young people that have studied psychology, civil engineering, and after that, they jump into Andela, and they become programmers. And immediately after that, they end up getting jobs either in Lagos or in Silicon Valley. In my former life, I was a public servant for 10 years before I ventured into private sector. And during the course of my work, I had privilege to work with NIPS, to work with InterSwitch, and a couple of other fintech startups. And I've been in these spaces whereby I've never seen a single northerner. Not one northerner have I seen in this space. I've been to offices of these people, and not a single northerner. So there wasn't enough tech talent at that time. Possibly now, there is a huge development. There's a huge gap being closed down. That's one problem. The second problem is where there are tech talents with ideas, in the business world, the business is not sentimental. That's the reality. If your idea is viable, investors will be willing to invest. I don't think you will stand before Tony Elumelu and pitch an idea to him. If he sees viability in that business, I promise you he's going to invest. He's going to work with you. But the reality is the business are not viable. So talking about accelerators and incubators, reality is we don't have enough incubators in the North. I was privileged to meet two set of young people, first-class graduates from Sulalamido University. They had this idea where they developed a solution that can test the acidity of water and tell you the level of acidity of that particular water. And the concept they have is this can be applied for fish ponds. If you have a fish pond, you have a need to change the water periodically. But how do you know it's time to change that water? So they develop a concept that you need to put an IoT material inside water. It tells you the acidity. But this was their end-of-year project as students from Sulalamido University. But if you see the scraps they need to put together to be able to achieve this, it was amazing. But immediately after that, when they came to me, they have a beautiful product. But from a business point of view, and I asked them a few questions, their business does not seem viable. And I can't think of any incubation program within the North that will be able to help them from point A to point B. Aisha is sitting here by my side. She's done tremendously well. I would praise her. But Aisha has been bootstrapping Startup Kano for a very long time. I'm not aware how much support she has gotten from the northern leaders. I'm not aware of how much, even if it's at a minimal level. She keeps bootstrapping this, and I praise her particularly for her persistence, because she's been doing this quite a long time. And before the conveners of this event, which tremendously well, we're very happy with it, I'm not aware of northern tech ecosystem leaders, bankers also, that have given her the necessary support to set up a startup ecosystem or startup acceleration program or incubation program at the level of African FinTech Foundry, or what Future Africa is doing with Ian Aboyeji. Last point, I was also privileged to be at a midst of a conference where Ian was asked that he's the most successful venture capitalist in Nigeria. Ian has been part of two unicorns, Flutterwave and Andela. And he was asked, why have you not been investing in the North? Why are you only investing in the southern part of the country? And his response, interestingly, is this. He said, if you count the top 10 richest people in Nigeria, a vast majority of that number are going to be from the North, right? If I see some of these rich people investing in these businesses as angel investors because they see viability, I will rush because I know that it's going to be viable. That's number one. Number two, I can't point to anywhere within the North to say that there is a cluster of tech ecosystem that is vibrant, similar to how you have Yaba Tech. Before this platform, and I keep saying this, let me praise the convener of this event. They have done tremendously well. I think we should give them a round of applause. And I hope this is going to be sustainable. I'm very happy for what they're doing. This is the first time, I know a lot of people here that have come to an event, that I've met a lot of players within the ecosystem, and we've been having conversations that may drive possible partnerships. And to conclude his point, he said he's also from the North. Ian said he's from the North, and he's from Ilorin. But he said, if there's a platform where I can go to, I say this is a place. There are startups, there are accelerators, there are incubators, or the universities, BUK and Co, have a structure whereby they try to bring investors at the end of the year where students are being graduated. Take, for example, the Sulalamido students. Had it been when they were making their presentation, there were investors or there are business people like Aisha and Co that own startups that should come and listen to those pitches, they'll be able to see products that are viable and they could incubate them. So once we don't have a platform, a cluster of platforms that we all come together that can attract the attention of people, then we won't be able to achieve that. But I think we're on track having the fact that Kano is now ranked 6th in the country, the only northern state among 10 top states for startup ecosystem, and it's also ranked 11th in West Africa. So maybe we're on track. Thank you.
Okay. But how do you balance, we graduate 1 million graduates, right? We heard earlier today, every year. And I'm sure a significant number of those are IT graduates. You say we have lack of tech talent. So the software engineering students, the computer science students, don't they have what it takes to be able to fill those gaps? Ahmed, I'm asking you because you raised the point.
So I think that is changing. You know, there are programs right now that are helping produce that. As probably the MC did mention, I'm executive trustee of Future More Foundation. Our focus is to leverage technology to drive economic growth and improve people's lives. We're also setting up an academy towards ensuring we give people the right training to become the necessary tech talents. The numbers are changing. I've met so many young people living in the north that are working for foreign companies. Among my staff right now, I have a student from ABU's area studying psychology, level 3, and I'm paying him full salary, but he's working remotely. So if you have the talent, opportunities are there. The concept of JAPA is creating an opportunity for the north. That's the reality. Because a lot of young people within the southern part of the country are migrating for greener pastures to Europe and America, and a few other countries, Canada and co. So, which means there is a huge talent gap that if we have structures and programs that are producing tech talents in a periodic way, I don't want a situation where we talk about degrees, informatics and co. I've known about informatics in Kano. I've done a lot of interviews and recruitment. I'm yet to recruit a single person from informatics for a very long time. I'm sorry. But if we have academies that are actually focused on tech talent development, 6 months to 12 months to say, okay, come here, go through a program of data science, and you become a data analyst. Go through a program of DevOps. There's a huge demand for DevOps engineers in Saudi Arabia and a lot of countries in the Middle East. I've met a young boy who joined Central Bank, worked for a year, and he quit because the opportunities he's getting elsewhere are better than what Central Bank is paying him. Now he's being paid about $4,000 a month, working from his house, and he's comfortable. So opportunities are there, but we need to create the platforms where we can produce this tech talent. That is the reality. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that point. So now, moving to importance of partnership and collaboration, I know Halim and Aisha were discussing the importance of that, so I will throw this next question to you too. What kind of partnership and collaborations are needed to run a successful accelerator or any incubation or IT program, and what role do private sector and international organization and governments, what kind of role and partnership should we all pursue in order to succeed in running an accelerator program for the betterment of our region? Yeah, Aisha, start, then Halima can.
So talking about partnerships and collaborations, I think at this point, talking out of tech, we know that collaboration in everything is key. It doesn't have to be tech, but, coming back to the tech aspect and let's say running an incubator. So to run a very successful incubator, leveraging on collaborations, I think this is very easy because when we talk about collaborations, we're talking about different parties coming together with different resources to make up or build a solid incubator, right? So each party just needs to play their part. For example, talking about the government, policies are out there that some are favorable to the incubation ecosystem and some are not. So when it comes to that incubation aspect, government can come in and say, oh, at the end of this incubation, we would look at the successful startups, and then anything that has to do with regulations, we will take care of that. Because I know so many tech startups that have amazing ideas, but then the only thing that is stopping them from becoming that unicorn is just registration. Sorry, not CAC registration, but licenses. There are some in, CBN that cost a lot of money, some in, other government parastatals. So if governments can come in and say, okay, we're taking care of that, or we are subsidizing, or we're finding a way to make this possible and easy for these startups, then that would be so amazing. Private sector can come in and say, oh, okay, since the government is taking care of these licenses and, legal whatever, we're going to come in with technical expertise. And technical expertise could be, okay, we're bringing someone from maybe JP Morgan, or we're bringing someone from Microsoft, or we're bringing it depends, to come and hold the hands of these startups and tell them this is how to build a viable product or service, right? Because that experience is really needed, either in mentorship or in masterclass or whatever it can come. But they need people that have experience, people that have been through it to tell them this is how to build. And then the incubators and accelerators can now handle the groundwork, looking for the, promising startups, from like the call to applications, selecting, setting the criterias, the PR and everything. So at the end of the day, you would see that. And then other people can come with, okay, at the end of the day, if there would be a demo day, of course, people would pitch, and the best startups, like the Arewa Tech Fund, can say, oh, okay, we're going to invest $1 million in this startup. So tell me, if there is this pipeline, everything will just go in smoothly, and then we would have the best startups. But then we don't have that pipeline. The incubators are struggling, the accelerators are struggling. When you reach out for collaborations, the corporations are looking at who is involved before they actually support you. They don't even look at the impact. A lot of people are now not after the impact, they're after who is on that table. I'm just being honest here, because we have to talk about the problem, right? We're here to find the solutions. So the people here at the top need to understand that the people here cannot reach there if they don't get that support. That's just the plain truth, and that is how collaboration works. People come in, bring resources, and then something amazing is being built. I don't know, Halima would want to add something to that?
Yes.
Since you
Maybe if you can, Halima, talk a bit more about the kind of partnerships and collaborations that you have under your center that have led to the successful programs that you've been running.
All right, so I'll take you from the angle of, Aisha has said the key things. So I'll also take it from the angle of what we have done at the center. And with the center, so we're under the Pan-Atlantic University. And what we do for the second-year students in the university is that from their second level, they have to take entrepreneurship as a course, right? And from there, it changes their mindset to start thinking of what they can do so as to be able to, be employers of labor at the end of the day or have something for themselves. So we look at it of, okay, you should be solving a problem and should be trying to use technology to solve that problem, because that way is more scalable. So once we look at that, we're changing their mindset of the way they should think about, solving problems within the context of Nigeria. That's one. And then from there, we incubate them, and then we actually, like Aisha said, do a demo day where they can present their ideas. And some of the times, you just see they come up with amazing ideas that are solving real-world problems. And from there, we also bring about people that would actually come and see, possible investors to come and actually take on the ideas and see how they can actually take it to market. So that's one element. And then aside that, we're also trying to use this curriculum and also kind of spread it across. So we're collaborating within the NUC, for example, the National Universities Commission, whereby this same curriculum can also be taken to different universities, and that way the mindset is now changed from an early stage. And from there, we'll be able to see impact in terms of the kind of solutions or problems that are being solved, and then also the kind of thinking that we can also get out of it. And we've been doing it across different years and different sectors as well. So that's one example I wanted to highlight. And even now, as well, like she mentioned, having those access to linkages is very important. We cannot do everything by ourselves, so we need to work with collaborators and influencers. So there are some communities whereby you may not be, we may not necessarily be able to reach, but then you can reach community leaders, to be able to reach the right set of people that can also be able to take these on, and they're able to impact more people. So working with different people, access to linkages. So yes, they have a tech product or a tech-enabled product. So it's very important to just know that you don't necessarily have to be a tech business. You can be using tech to solve one element of your business. So using tech to solve a problem. So tech-enabled businesses. And that way you're able to either reduce your operational deficiencies or also try to scale more quicker. So those are different ways that we can leverage our network. So now we're also working with Aisha, like she mentioned. So we don't always work in silo. It's always important for us to leverage on strengths and know your weaknesses and just know that, okay, we may not be able to provide access to market, but we can provide this platform, for example, Arewa Tech First, for those readily available products or solutions to actually have that access to market.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Ahmed Idris, baby, please help correct me. How many startups over the last, so you've started so many startups and you face so many challenges, right, in trying to make these ideas a reality. What are some of the limitations, whether from infrastructure point of view or technology, that has hindered, and you also run Innovate Lab, right? So you have the experience of running a lab, but at the same time, you've started quite a few startups. So if you can shed a bit of light, challenges that these startups, and how do we address some of these issues?
All right, thank you for that question. So there's something I always say when I go out, is that I'm first a founder, right? Before I help people to also found their companies and their startup. And this has helped me in several ways because, I've been in the trenches myself. So I understand all the challenges, all the problems that typical startup founders face, right? And this has helped the work that we do at Innovate Lab because with the experience I've had right now, I know that we are on track to churn out new generation of startups from Kano and the North that will eventually go out to global stage and can compete with their counterpart across the world. Now, coming back to challenges, you see the challenges in the North are multifaceted. Like we have problems coming at us from all angles, right? Let's even take literacy, the basic problems out of the equation. People come with ideas or come up with ideas just because maybe they can, right? But they don't look at all the other components or the factors that will make that idea to work. Because their end goal is just one thing. They feel like with this idea, I can make I can get a funding of 100K USD or even 1M USD, right? So it's just the money. We are always, most of the people you'll see trying to do startups, that's what they're after. They just think that, okay, let me just get a nice idea that can fetch me some funding. But then they don't look at all the other components, such as, building, a business or a company, hiring people, doing sales, marketing, putting their finances in order. So these are just problems that within the startup themselves, they're already facing. Now, if you now look at the environment, general environment as a whole, if you look at the political environment, you look at the economic environment, the social environment, and then all the other, the pestle, if you know the framework, right? So for startups that are operating out of the North, the challenges, like I said, are so many. You'll see that it's really difficult to even come up with really, really great ideas sometimes because of the quality of the people. So most people have not even gone through, basic entrepreneurial, they don't even understand what it means to be an entrepreneur. So they just pick up an idea and they just want to go straight and try to solve a problem, which is a great thing to do. But then the environment itself also does not kind of support people to do that. So you are trying to look for partnerships like Aisha and Halima talked about. Sometimes these partnerships, people don't even listen to you or look at you because they feel like you don't have what it takes, which sometimes they are right. But then most of the time, they just wouldn't give you the chance, right? So we have this social factor where people don't support, small businesses and startups that are in the ecosystem, right? But then I also mentioned, the capacity of the startups and the quality of the ideas that these startups come up with as well. But then another problem is the issue of an ecosystem, which my boss here, Ahmad Galadima, talked about. I believe that we are still at a stage where we are at a turning point right now, in terms of the technology and the entrepreneurship ecosystem in the North. And I'm glad to be on this panel with people that are doing an amazing job in trying to, ensure that we provide a level playing ground for anybody that's trying to, start or just come into the ecosystem. But I think a lot of work needs to be done. The ecosystem is still not as ripe as it's supposed to be. I feel like there's a need for a lot of synergy, collaborations, and partnerships. But also, we need people who have done it. Because I go out, I see people, I travel to places and I see people who have left Kano or left Kaduna or any of those states in other places, and they're doing excellently well. And then when you ask them, how far, come back now and invest, they'll be like, why? They're also skeptical about the environment. So I feel like people need to come back, not people, but anyone who is able or is influential or has a stake in this ecosystem should also try and support the ecosystem so that the ecosystem will eventually evolve and grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So, Ahmed Galadima, I'll go to you. What sectors do you think are ripe presently for investment or support, across the North? Is it agri-tech? Is it healthcare? Is it software development? And what sectors do you see opportunities? And if you could maybe a bit elaborate, what are some of these opportunities? What sectors are ripe, and what kind of opportunities do you see in these sectors across the North? Or should I rephrase the question?
Yeah, it's fine. I heard you correct, clearly. I think it's hard to just pinpoint some particular sectors, even though you could look at some of the strengths of the North and sort of be able to see how you can identify problems that need solutions. But over the top of my head, the North is known to be the food-producing region of the country. So you can't go far from it. Agri-tech is one of the biggest things. But the reality is, with mechanized agriculture and other technologies, I can actually set up an agri-farm inside my house right now. And then for how long will the North keep saying that we're the food basket of the nation or we're the whatever producer of the nation? There are 10 farmings right now. You understand? There are incubations, there are technologies that you can actually just set up a market as big as this and farm. And the turnaround time of production is very short with technology. So it's hard. And like I said, business world is not a sentimental world. If you don't do it, the people with the knowledge, the people with the resources in today's Nigeria. But do you know that the vast majority of the numbers Money Point are making are coming from that the tech ecosystem is so big? I promise you there's not every nook and cranny of the North you go to, you find Money Point POS, right or wrong. Yeah, there are agents, but Tosin saw an opportunity, and it doesn't mean it has to be from he's not from the North, but he came to the North and he has penetrated the market. That's one aspect. The health tech is we need to be very, very deliberate about how we invest in technology. And the first thing is investing in the people and investing in the community. I really wish the policymakers are still sitting on the front row, and I'll clearly state this. Like I mentioned earlier, Aisha has been running Startup Kano for a very long time. Most of you know that. What stops Kano State government from investing and accelerating that startup to expand? Because if the Kano State government push for it, then it attracts other people to know that this is backed by government, and they will come. One. Number two, we're not deliberate. Aside Katsina and Zamfara, who were sitting here earlier, is because their governors were deliberate in establishing entities that represent IT. NIDDA is how many years old? I don't think NIDDA is 20 years old since it's been established. It's a very new entity in MDA. It's known for scholarships, but all of a sudden it has skyrocketed 3M, TTN, and all of programs. You go to many states within the north, all you have is SA on IT, and all he does is he helps the governor do PowerPoints. There's not a deliberate attempt to say, okay, fine, let's establish an entity that represents IT within the state. And when you do that, there's something called lobbying. If, for example, in Kano now, I'm sorry, the Commissioner for Science and Technology was here earlier, tremendous man, and I'll give you a story with him. If we're deliberate in establishing entities similar to ZIDDA and the innovation entity in Katsina, then what you enabling yourself is you have an entity that can approach higher ministries, departments, and agencies like NASENI, like NIDDA, like NCC to lobby for investment, to lobby for programs, to lobby for things that can be bring to your state. You also have an entity that can leverage partnership with development partners to be able to attract. I promise you, had Aisha been supported by Kano State government, other ecosystem will come and support what she's doing because she's been doing it for a very long time, and that's the problem. And the story I want to give you is this. I was privileged to be with some partners, public and private sector partners, and we attracted an investment worth 1 billion naira to set up an innovation hub in the north. And we now said the best viable place to set up an innovation hub in the north is Kano, because being the commercial city, and like I mentioned, ranked number 6 in startups ecosystem within the country, and 11th in West Africa, right, Aisha? It's the best place to do. What did we do? We identify a location. If you guys know Sokoto Road, there's a dilapidated building that they do weddings over there. They call it Gidan B Minister or Gidan House or something. And we wrote to Kano State government. We are requesting to build, operate, and transfer back to them within a certain period of time. The investors bring 100% funding for it. We went through the Commissioner Science and Technology. He took it as far as he can. He did his utmost best. The governor was willing, and he set up a committee to do a review and all that, and they went all the way, write papers, and they made a recommendation it should be done. But for certain reasons, someone with vested interest who is close to the governor advised him otherwise. And right now, the investors want to go to a different state. And the state they want to go to is not as viable as Kano. And this is not it doesn't cost any kobo for the state. Everything is funded. And it's in a partnership where the state can also have equity within whatever is produced out of that place. We have reached out to a tremendous number of partners within the industry, Adobe, Figma, CorelDRAW, Canva. They are willing to give a lot of support for trainings for faculties, but down the drain because somebody's vested interest is not at the best interest of the people. And that's the reality. We don't support each other. The government don't create an enabling ecosystem for this to thrive. That's the reality. So until we are able to do that, sir, you cannot talk about the sectors because once you create a vibrant ecosystem, you will see different sectors that are going to come out. You see talents coming out, and you'll be able to see that genuinely we can start to leapfrog and see that we produce solutions. I don't care if your business needs acceleration and then you need to go to Lagos for acceleration. By then, your business is viable. Go. But incubating the idea is where the problem is. Nurturing it, you can't have a baby and expect it to walk tomorrow. It has to learn to sit, it has to learn to crawl, it has to learn to stand with all the family support before it gets to work. And that's the reality. Government, public sector, education, private sector, we all need to come together to nurture the ecosystem before it can learn to work. Thank you.
It's very unfortunate, but politics sometimes interferes a lot with development. So I think Halima was saying earlier she knew a lady that when she came to them, she didn't know how to use Excel, but she has now raised over 3 million. So I think we've spoken a lot of our problems, so it's good to talk about success stories as well, right? So Halima, maybe if you could give an example, I don't know, of that particular lady or of any success stories, and then I'll come to Aisha as well for some success stories from your work in Kano.
So there's this program that we run at the center. It's called the AgroHack Challenge, and it's specifically for youths who are within the agri sector who are solving a problem with technology or otherwise, an innovative solution. So we had some, you call for application, they come for class, they teach them around business management, how to manage their business. So aside from you having the solution, you also need to make it a business, right? To be able to make money and grow from there. So we had this young man from Kano, actually. And so how the program runs is that they have to come with a partner, with one of the staff or a decision maker in the company. And he came with his partner. And then they went through the training in Kano, how to put structures, marketing, customer service, business modeling, design thinking, putting yourself in the shoes of the customers so that you're able to understand them and also create the solution for them. So they went through all that, and surprisingly, he doesn't speak English. So the founder, he only knows the business side of it. He was doing dehydrators for onions and using some technology around it. So surprisingly, he got to the top two in Kano, and he made it to the regional national finals across Nigeria. And then they had like 4 different states come: Kano, Lagos, and I think some is Enugu or so. And they all came, around 10 businesses came to pitch their businesses. Imagine the young lad from Kano who did not know how to speak English. He came top 2 just because of his solution was viable, and he was able to still communicate what his solution was. It was actually amazing. And today, because of that competition, he has been able to get new markets, and he has been able to actually kickstart the business because he got a grant for that, I think 1 million naira or so, and he was able to kickstart that business. So the ideas are there, the business cases are there. It's just for us to have an enabling environment and accelerators and incubators that would actually take on those business ideas and actually incubate them. So that's one example I thought I would share.
All right. Thank you so much for that example. Aisha, any success stories?
Okay. So when it comes to success stories, I think I'll just focus on some of the startups that we've supported from our inception to raise funding. And I think we've successfully supported some startups to raise over $1 million. And some of these startups are Bryco. Bryco are producing smokeless charcoal. They have raised over $200,000. Schooler is an edtech company. I think they've raised over $500,000. Northino is a new portfolio startup that we've just gotten. They've just got a grant of $15,000 just a few weeks ago from JICA. ZenPay is going due diligence to got investment, also around $50,000. We also have Sales Epiphany was one of the projects that EDC, Halima, is running. She was a winner. She got 1 million naira, I think, a few years ago. And it's actually ongoing at the moment. They're going to do their pitch this month, I think. So they are just out there, and they are raising. Sometimes we say that nobody is raising anything in the north, but people are raising money, honestly. Sometimes they just don't speak about it. So I think one thing I would also challenge all of us here is try and do some research when it comes to the startup ecosystem in the north. We wouldn't just say nothing is working. A lot of things are working, not because the policies are actually, favoring us, but because people are bootstrapping, people are being resilient, people are not giving up, right? So people are actually making it. Not fast and not loud, but then things are actually happening. So I don't want people here, young people here, to feel discouraged, thinking that, oh, nothing is working, this has happened, that has happened, so I'm not going to proceed with what I'm building. Please keep building. Keep seeking for that knowledge and don't give up. It's really tough. It's really, really tough. This is my 10th year. And then Ahmad has even realized no one has supported. We've been running for 8 years. I've been in the ecosystem for 10 years. I can't even count the number of startups that we've supported so far. Like, I have lost count. But then we are not giving up, because if we don't do it, who is going to do it? And if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? So basically, that's my feedback. Thank you.
Sorry, Ahmed, can I also add?
Oh, please go ahead.
Right, so when she was just talking, it's also important for us to be able to tell our stories. So I think that's one thing we don't do a lot of, especially in the North. Tell your stories, whatever you're doing, the good, the bad, the failures, embrace them all, like Aisha mentioned. But it's important for us to tell our stories, because it's from there that somebody may see what we're doing and actually pick interest from it. So please, like Aisha said, we challenge you, tell your stories more, and connect more with others within that ecosystem.
Okay, thank you. So, Ahmed Galadim, I'll come back to you again. What does the future of this ecosystem, where do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years, and what can we do to ensure that it positively impacts the northern region?
So I think there's a lot to do, and I'm happy that we have started. I'll mention 3 to 4 things. Number one, politics aside, what the conveners of this event have done is tremendously impressive, and it's something we should all praise. I think we should give them a round of applause. So one of the things I would say is that we need to gather strengths, and we need to be very deliberate. So we need to back events like this to be able to grow, to be able to expand, to be able to tell our own stories so that it comes out and people are able to see it. There are individuals organizing this event on their own. So within the next 5 to 10 years, I see a lot of emerging technologies taking over, a lot of businesses, but within that space, they will create a lot of opportunities. So I would say if we're able to, a very big if we're able to develop skills within the range of these emerging technologies, AI, big data, blockchain, 3D printing, robotics, and what have you. If we're able to develop talents, then we'll be able to have people that are churning on ideas and pushing and being able to, what I'll call, develop and evolve within the ecosystem. But as they are doing that, then we need platforms like this where they will be able to showcase, to be able to present how these ideas are evolving, and with the ideas being viable and being moved from point A to point B, then it will attract investors to be able to come forward. But one thing I will warn is that I would warn the North about this concept of Jigawa ecosystem, Katsina ecosystem, Kano ecosystem. Like, if we're distributed all over the place, it's good, but let's have a converging point where we come together and pull our strengths, similar to this kind of platform. Regardless of whatever you're doing in what region, I'm happy to see the likes of Pseudo Africa from here. It came out of Katsina. I'm happy to see a number of startups. So if we're able to pull our strengths together, talents, incubators, accelerators, investors, and very important, government, within the next 5 to 10 years, I see us turning solutions to solve our local problems that will become businesses and will attract investors.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we'll take a few questions before we allow the panelists maybe to have a final say. Do we have any question? Do we have a mic, please? Please, can we start with the gentleman. We'll take maybe 3 or 4 or 5, depending on what time allows. Please, your name, what you do, and then straight to the point, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Jacob Jae, and I'm an entrepreneur. I own a startup company that has been live for about 5 years now, and I deliver digitalization services, mostly ERP and IoT technologies focused. So my question for the panelists is, we spoke a lot about incubation, but I'd like to put a little spotlight on the incubation part of your speech. Do you have any programs that are centered around distribution for entrepreneurs? For example, a lot of tech startups, a lot of startup incubators they teach how to develop the project, they teach the skills, they teach maybe how to be an entrepreneur as a person. Because I was opportune to, I think I met Mr. Ahmad through Ingausa. I don't know if he remembers me. I met Mr. Ahmad through Ingausa, and it's one of the programs that produces a lot of companies, a lot of new entrepreneurs. But our main problem is usually around distribution. Distribution in the sense that you learn how to build your product, you learn how to deliver. Maybe if you have a customer, you learn how to deliver and all that. But the startups are not, let me not say they are not, but I don't know if there are any programs or any parts of your startups that help entrepreneurs deal with distribution, how to get your products to maybe different regions of the country.
When you say distribution, are you talking about access to market and
access
growth?
to market, yes.
Okay, so that's a totally, okay. Anybody want to take it?
Should we take the questions?
Okay, so we'll take a few questions, then we'll just answer. Please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Ibrahim Adam Tilde. Permit me to stand on the already existing protocol. My question goes like this to Malam Bashir. Is it Malam Ahmad Bashir Shuaibu? You have made mention of 2 individuals approaching you with a project. It is IoT project, right? IoT device that tests the acidity of water. And unfortunately, it turned out to be not viable. The project is not viable. So, which I thought, for me, I thought that is very viable. So that makes me realize that maybe, I don't know what make a project really viable. So I want to know, my question is, I want to know how can we identify that our idea is viable before presenting it to the stakeholders. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's a gentleman behind. Gentleman behind. Are we clear on his question?
Yes. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yasser. I want to ask, do these incubators and accelerators, do they have to happen in person, or like it can actually happen online? Like, for example, someone in Kaduna can actually attend an incubator in Kano, like online or something like that.
Thank you. The last question, I think, then. Oh, 2. Okay. The last 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. Uthman Kamaldin is my name, and I'm the founder and CEO of Abinchi. So I think I've personally learned a lot, like from some of the presentations we have today, the masterclass and all. And I think some of the things were directed to going back to the grassroots, the fundamental principles of solving our local problems. Now, the major challenge is there's a lot of problems for startup founders to breach before you get to the end. Now, there's a problem of talents, which we struggle with a lot of time. Having to recruit someone from Lagos, like barriers, a lot. I have millions, personally from my own personal experience, it's something I'm even facing till now. Millions of naira being burnt on monthly basis just to develop a tech product to get it out to the market. And I think the final one, which is also a challenge, is do we have the markets to test these problems? I would say Lagos, for example, because we have what we do at Abinchi is a campus-based food delivery solutions. Like we have Glovo, Chowdeck, etc. They focus on citywide delivery. We're starting from campuses, for example, to say, how can we bridge the gap for students at first? But now, do we have a vibrant market to test? Now we're looking to, where do we scale? Are we going to ABU, for example? Are we going to University of Abuja? Or should we go to Unilag? Where is the market where our product can be vibrant? To attract, I think Malam Hamad make a very good sense when he said, beyond solving problems, beyond social impact, businesses has to be vibrant, has to be investable. For investors to consider it valuable to say they are putting up their money, they are backing it up. But after we are able to solve the problem of talent in the North, how do we ensure that there's also an enabling market where the solutions can be tested, can be used in the North, as opposed to getting up the solutions and even having to go as far away as going to Lagos to test it out? Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Umar Katibu, and I'm glad to be here. So I thank the organizers of this event. So I'm a tech founder, and like many Northerners, I believe a lot of you guys will share with my story. I started my career 8 years ago, and I started as a solo, I started at home, all alone. So I had been learning programming for about 5 years, and I had been doing it all alone. I didn't know any single person that I can go to as a senior, that I can look upon as a mentor or as a helper to help me along my career. So I had to go the hard way to learn it by myself. And for about 4 years now, I have been in the field. I've been doing the profession, but I've always been wanting to develop my own product, because that is what led me into programming in the first place, to be able to build my own product and take them to market. Well, I have built my own product now, and I'm having a hard challenge taking them to market. Just like in the previous phase of my career, learning programming, I had to do it all alone. So now as well, taking my product to market has been a very huge challenge for me, because there is no one I can look upon as a mentor to guide me, to put me through. I've been seeing my counterpart in Lagos. They are doing well because they have been in the ecosystem. They share networks with other like-minded people, and so they are finding easy to build their product and take their product to market. But we here in the North, I believe many of you can actually identify with my own problem. For example, in other countries, if you have an idea, you can meet your father, your brother, your uncle, or anyone in your family and ask him for a loan or for a...
I think we get your question because we are out of time, please. But
okay.
They will respond. Yes, they will respond.
So thank
you so much. So, but please, last person, but 30 seconds, please, 30 seconds, and then we are done. Please, the last person, 30 seconds, we are done. Kunga, question.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I've been here since morning, and I noticed that all the questions, every talk is about building, solving local problems. And as sad as it is, Nigerians only buy essentials. So, for example, food. And also just like, that's why fintech is so successful, because you need money to buy food. So, no talk has been about like international market. For example, you can register for a US company online and everything, and you can start building for the global market. And for example, a lot of companies jump on trends, like let's say consumer products, and it's not actually solving a problem, but then it's just for a short term, and they get ROI ASAP, unlike trying to solve a very complex local problem. So why aren't we talking about that and just focusing on, let's say, farms and other local problems? Thank you.
Please, can you in 10 seconds, just what specific is your question?
Like, why are we focusing on the local? I know the local market, it's very difficult, and we haven't talked about the global market at all. And I'm very sure that a lot of Nigerians exploring that market.
All right, thank you. Okay. So I think the first question was about growth and expansion, right? Access to market. Who wants to take that? How do you go to market strategy, expansion of your business, new markets? Aisha? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, you can use mine.
So, he's talking about how distribution, right? Access to markets. So the thing is, I feel a lot of startup founders are overwhelmed because why would you be thinking about getting your product to Lagos when you're not even done with that particular state that you are? There is, if you're in Kano, there is Kano market, there is northern market before Lagos or anywhere. And then you have to conquer local market before you can actually go anywhere. If you're building from Kano and then your product is not all over in Kano, you cannot think about expansion. That means there's a problem. So I think we should learn to calm down. I think this answer would be for the person that is talking about, we're not talking about global markets. Why would we want to think about registering our startups in the US when we have not even conquered Kano State? So where you're building is your playground. That is where you lay the basic, solid foundation, where all the mistakes will be made and be corrected. All the lessons will be learned, all the research, all the behind the scenes. It needs to be solid from there. Let me tell you one thing about this Lagos that you're talking about. Lagos people are suffering. Startups are suffering in Lagos when it comes to raising funds. Do you know why? Because the rate of scam is so high right now that it's not everybody that even wants to invest in the Lagos people. So it's not like they're just starting and then they go to Unilag, do their test. It's a long process. Like I said, a lot of people are not talking about their behind the scenes. They are only talking about their achievements. So people are suffering. And you must suffer too. I'm not saying you have to suffer, but that's just how it works. Like Ahmad said, you cannot just have a baby today and then expect it to start working tomorrow. It must learn to sit, learn to crawl, start teething and all those things. Those are challenges, like huge ones. And then coupled with the fact that the northern exposure when it comes to investment is very low. There are a lot of bridges. So of course that should be expected. So please, just calm down. Don't think about registering your startup in the USA or think about how can I distribute my products in the South unless you have conquered where you are. That is why sometimes, even if you have an MVP, a product in the market, you must go through incubation again. Just because you have a product in the market doesn't mean incubation is not for you sometimes. Because you need to go back, check that foundation that you've laid and see what is wrong, and then you fix them. Sometimes these are the things that are holding our startups back. And then if I can chip in to the person that said he found it so hard to build, he built alone. See, this is 10 years for me. I am still waiting for that person that I can call every day and ask, how can I do this? Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody. It's you and yourself. You have to put yourself... See, you see that idea of building alone is very bad.
Very bad.
How can you be in your room? I know a lot of people that code. I'm building the code in my room. I've been building it for 10 years. I don't want to give anybody because I don't want anybody to cheat me. It doesn't work that way. You're in your room building it. Someone is building the same thing somewhere and putting it out there and getting the support they need. You have to just put it out there. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, you build another one. Ideas are cheap. It's the execution that matters. So if you're building those codes, bring it out. Put it out there. Reach out to people. Go to events. Go on LinkedIn. Go and do bumper to bumper for all those people that you feel you can learn from. Keep pushing until they speak to you and advise you on what to do. I do that too. There are people that I look up to, but I don't even have access to them. Every day, I'm renewing my LinkedIn just so that I can send them a DM. So, like I said, it's between you and yourself at the end of the day. So I think I'll stop here, and then my colleagues would also add to some of the questions. Thank you.
So I'd just like to add to the distribution.
All right.
So if you're looking at other states like Lagos, for example, bear in mind that Lagos is already a saturated market. There are a lot of fintechs and startups in Lagos. So you, as a startup in Kano, you have an advantage because the playing field might be very much not saturated. So use that as your advantage and do your market research very well. Do your testing and also, your small focus groups to see how viable that idea is, and then push it out to the market and see how they react to it. Like Aisha said, it's a continuous learning process. Maybe one of your elements of your startup or your product you need to refine. So, but you won't know that until you test it. So that's what
Let me add on both what they said, and this is in response to what he said about building in silo. So typically when you start your journey in tech, most time people around you do not understand that you are in tech. There was a time I used to take my bag on the back like this, and people would be like, this guy, Yahoo. Because they don't understand that I'm just trying to learn a tech skill and then use that skills to make money. They feel like all the thing you're doing on your computer is just scam, right? So this in some areas, it might lead you to just, recluse yourself and just start to kind of do your thing alone. But there's no rule that says you have to build alone. In fact, one of the best things that has happened to me is, going to events, going to meetups. Eventually, I started hosting meetups myself. But then before I did that, I went to a lot of places where by just virtue of being there, you just meet people who you instantly click. And you might not become friends at that moment, but eventually those people will come to play a role in your life, whereby if you are looking for support, if you're a tech person and you get stuck, you can always reach out to those people. But then one thing I've noticed that we don't do much here in the North is we don't put ourselves out there, just like the way Halima talked about. We really need to stop that idea of, I don't know, is it kunya or humility that stops us from, putting ourselves out there. I was at a program 2 weeks ago in Lagos. The guys we went with from Kano, I didn't even know he was from Kano. It was during the lunch break that I realized he was from Kano. They asked him a question with a mic, and he couldn't even say a word. I felt really bad because I was like, this guy is, I went there with steez now, so you get now. So I was like, Baba, if we go back, told him. So, and eventually he opened up, and so we just need to learn to network, join communities, join online groups, WhatsApp groups. There are tech communities all over. When we started, there were basically just one, which was powered by Google. That's the Google Developer Group. Eventually, from today, I can tell you there are over 100 communities. I personally started a community in 2016. It's called Code Pyramid. We've had over 3,000 members. Some of them are working in the Netherlands, in Saudi, in Dubai, all across the globe. And these guys are giving back to new members in our community. So put yourself out there. Someone would definitely come out to help you. Also, you need to show capacity because people don't just help you just because you want help. They want to see that you are willing to go the extra mile and you have something to offer as well. Thank you.
I think there were about 2 questions directed at me. We're out of time, I realize. Yes, just to conclude. The young man from Ingosa, it's a pleasure to meet you once again. Your question around distribution, I think there are 2 things I would just like to respond to you to address that. Number 1 is we put out products without conducting market research. We don't do our primary market research. And when we say market research is you need to talk to the paying customer. Whoever is going to pay value for what you are selling, you need to talk to him. And when they say talk to him, I'm not talking about interviewing 1 person, 2 person every month. You have to talk to like 10 people a day. And you keep refining because that's how you know what they want. So just don't build a product without actually getting somebody who needs that product. You're not solving anyone's problem. That's one issue because the moment you do that, you know how you do your market size on a pitch, you do target market and all that, TAM and all that. You have to do that. You have to do your market research and know that there's somebody that's willing to pay for that product. That's number 1. Number 2, with respect to access to market, is being able to sort of know that what you're producing is unique. Because if there are people producing that product, if there are other people producing that product within the market, take for example, whatever product you're producing, if you take it to Abuja, there's someone doing it a lot better. He's bigger, he has more resources, he has more access to market. It won't be easy for you to beat him. But if you cut out a niche that there is a small particular thing that you are doing a little bit better than he is doing it, then there's an opportunity for you to beat him. That can give you penetration to market. For the SLU question regarding Sulaiman University, what I said, I didn't say that the idea was not viable. What I said is that the business model is not viable. And there's difference between having an idea and a product. The product is working. But what's your business model? How do you plan to source for those IoT materials? How do you plan to produce them in large quantity? How do you plan to access the market? At that point in time, there are young graduates out of university. They don't even know what size of market is. They don't even know what customer research is. They don't have a paying customer. They have an idea. But what I did is I leveraged my network, and I got those kids posted to Abuja for NYC, and right now they're serving with me. Hopefully, they are programmers right now. They are working with us with a lot of other products. Hopefully, by the time they graduate, they would have been able to refine their product. They would have been able to access more people within network, not in Jigawa, in Kafun House Islamic University, but in Abuja, they have access to more people that can do better things. Then there's a question about whether incubation and acceleration is online or physical. The whole concept of incubation is that you have a business that you need support. Renoni, kana da jariri, sai ka bashi madara ya sha, sai maman shi ta kula da shi. So it's possible you start a business, you don't even have an office space. Are you going to sit in your house? You need a workspace. An incubation program can give you a workspace, a simple table and chair where you can sit down, solid connection to internet, with a small cafe that sells meat pie and bread and mineral that you can take and continue coding. That's the whole essence of incubating. So it depends on your need. You also need mentors. If you sit at the comfort of your home, you may not get those mentors. You also need to attend programs like hackathons, startup surgeries, and a few other programs. So if you stay at the comfort of your home thinking you're a programmer, you can build a product, you will not have access to all these opportunities. So for incubation, I will advise you to be able to find a platform where you can go to. But for acceleration, it's online. There are a lot of acceleration programs internationally that if you register, you go through their program. Once you graduate, you are coming out with $100,000, Y Combinator and the likes. There are many of them, but you have to do your homework. Then lastly, the question of the young person, I sympathize with you. The young person that has been working alone for years, I quite sympathize with you. But I think maybe we have gotten the concept of Rambo too much. So many of us have watched the Rambo movie, right? You know Rambo, right? He goes to war with who? He goes to war alone, right? That doesn't happen in reality. You can't go to war alone. You need people. You need partners. You need support. you need guidance. You need the right set of people on board to be able to get your ideas far. So it comes to the question that we don't have a vibrant ecosystem. Had it been we have a vibrant ecosystem, he could have joined an incubation program that will accelerate him. And then lastly, yeah, I think I've answered all your questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Sorry, quickly. We do have incubation programs in Kano, actually. Innovate Lab has an incubator, right? We are running currently what we call the Forge, and we have a climate lab where we are focusing on environmental eco solutions that could solve climate issues in Kano and the north, even the country at large. So we do have one. Currently, we actually have a Greenpreneur Challenge is ongoing, but it's closing in about 2 days' time. So if you can bring out your phone, go to Innovate Lab, you'll see a flyer that's calling for those that have ideas around solving local solutions that affects the community, the climate, the environment, and you can apply. The grants isn't much, it's just 500K, but you'll go through an incubator if you just have an idea. And even if you have a business, we'll be able to take you through so that by the end of that program, you can go anywhere and then you'll be able to scale your business. That's for that. So, thank you. I just also wanted to add on the hybrid nature of whether an incubator can be virtual or physical. So, right now, after COVID, the world, realized that, you don't have to do physical activities all the time. So, virtual programs now came into play. But incubators, accelerators, all these can either be virtual or physical. There are places, it depends on who is organizing that program. So you just need to look out for some of these opportunities, like my boss Ahmed have said, and then you put yourself out there and you apply, and then hopefully you'll be able to get accepted in. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think that concludes the Q&A. So I'll allow the panelists just a few seconds for just final words, and then we can move to the next program. So please, we'll start with Ahmed Idris. Any final thought?
All right, my final word is, you just, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you land in the stars. There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing that you can never achieve. I'm sounding like a motivational speaker, but I was once really not, I won't say nobody, but whatever I am today was just in my head about 10 years ago. So you can become whatever you decide to be. Thank you.
All right, Halima.
So just in line with what he said, I would say think with the end in mind. Make sure you're solving a problem and being innovative, and also just being out there. Thank you.
So for me, I will say don't be afraid. If you don't find a common person where you are, a lot of Northerners don't like going up south and to different places because we're not comfortable. Don't be afraid. They don't have two brains, as our parents used to tell us that when you come take a last position, and like the person that came first, did he have two brains or what? So don't be afraid, penetrate places. Lastly, emerging technologies are real. AI is real. A lot of these things are going to change the way we do things. So let's not be caught in the early stage of what tech used to be, internet and Microsoft, and not be able to move forward. So if you're a young person, please develop skills around emerging technologies, data science, robotics, and co. You will put yourself in the space. The reality is, whether you're from the north, whether you're from the south, wherever you are in this part of the world, it's here. If you have what it takes, you have a seat on the table, I promise you.
Well, for me, I think I would say if at this point you're a young person, you have a smartphone and you can afford data, then it's the best time to be alive, because at this point, the first thing you should do is change your mindset. Stop comparing yourself with Lagos. Focus on where you are at the moment and build. We have over 20 million people in Kano. If you can have 5 million customers, you're good to go. So stop comparing yourself with Lagos. Lagos is a saturated place. The north has a very fresh and ready market. Explore that. Courses are free on all these platforms, you know them. Build yourself, build your skills, like have value, so that when you get on LinkedIn and you start sending His Excellency DMs, he would not say no, right? So please have value, because honestly, this life is value for value. You can't go with nothing and expect to come back with something. It doesn't work that way. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to our panelists for a wonderful discussion. And just to kind of round up, I think, everything that has been said over the last 1 hour, the importance of networking, the importance of developing skills. I think we discussed today about 1 million graduates every year, but unfortunately, concentrate, I think, for me, is not about the certificate, it's about what can you do, right? It doesn't really matter. I don't know where my certificates are, right? And I think we're all examples of people that just act and start something. That's the most important thing. I was a pioneer staff of Jaiz. I ran away after 10 months because I thought I'm not a banker, but I'm not an investment banker. Had I known, I would have stayed 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I would have gone far in that space. But my journey took me to different places. But the most important thing is be curious. A lot was discussed, and most of the Q&A kind of got me thinking we did not discuss enough about the importance of setting up a team. Because somebody is saying, how do you expand? Somebody is saying his dream was to build a product, but then now he has built the product. What does he do next? So literally, so a lot of the things about me, but you can't really run a company alone. So I think that's something that we miss, the importance of having a team and not operating in silos. And I hope if we have taken anything away today is to act. You can plan, but don't overplan, because whatever you've planned will not actually be what you execute. As long as you start, you have to pivot. So many challenges will come. But I think if we have more doers than planners, our region will be better off for it. So thank you so much to our panelists, and thank you so much for your time and listening. And I wish you a very successful forum. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for them once again. Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad Garba, the moderator of this wonderful panel session. Thank you so very much. All right, we'll be moving into something very important. And I promise we're going to make it very swift as possible. Now, we have major sponsors here with us. And we would like to give these wonderful people the opportunity to come talk about their brand very briefly. So I would like to call Spyro Mobility. Please, can we welcome Hi HS? Hi HS? Are we ready? Hi HS brand. Please, this is your time. I will be calling all the names of all the, the sponsors, the major sponsors again. So we have Spyro Mobility, we have Fairmont Sharks, we have ABT Tech, and then we have HIHS. So is HIHS ready right now? Okay, if they are not ready, can we put those hands together for Spiral Mobility? Please, a round of applause. This is your time. Spiral Mobility, please make it very, very snappy. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Kano, to give us this opportunity to bring our product here to showcase as a future of world is EV. The mobility, if you are talking about EV, let's start. First, my name is Mohammed Sajid. I am from India. Our Speedo company is a very good brand in Africa. Our presence in Africa is 6 countries. We have 18,000 plus fleet in Africa. Nigeria, we are partners with Ogun State government. We launched our first phase pilot project in Ogun State, 2,000 bikes with His Excellency of Ogun State. In Lagos, we have our largest, our manufacturing assembly plant in Lagos. Now we are expanding our business in other states like Kano, Abuja, Gombe, Bauchi, other states. So we are getting investors, and this is the right place in Kano that we are getting more investors and more customers and users too. So in terms of safety, security, economic, so our bike has a good feature with the security features that that bike is a traceable and trackable. The capacity of the bike is the highest maximum speed at 85 kilometer. And the battery has the charging time like 2.5 hours to 3 hours to go 80 kilometer, this bike. And it has 3 modes. There's a normal mode, driving mode, normal mode, and the super mode, sports mode. So this bike is for, we launched in Nigeria for commercial purpose, for personal purpose, for logistics, for other uses that they use for like defense, army, police, local security agencies, because there are security features in our bike. Then we welcomes our partners there who is going to invest in their states to create more job employments and the more and eco-friendly. This is 100% electric. Sorry. Now very soon we are going with the Niger state and the federal government. We are getting their proposals. So hopefully end of this month we are about to launch our electric three-wheelers, and we are bringing our electric buses and electric cars. We are also start to manufacture in Nigeria. Thank you. Thank you.
That was very, very, very swift. Spiral Mobility. So up next is ABT Technology. Are you ready? This is your time. Please, a round of applause for ABT Technology. Please, you have a few minutes.
Thank you very much. Standing on existing protocols, good evening, sirs, Your Excellency, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Kano. We thank you for having us. My name is Sonia Dodo. I'm responsible for regional expansion for ATB Tech Limited. ATB Tech is a Nigerian technology service provider, and we are system integrators. We are software developers. We have, over time, been able to develop softwares that have supported both SMEs, startups, and even big organizations. Some of the softwares that we have developed include the Notch HR, which is a HR software. This software handles end-to-end HR. It is built for Nigeria, for Nigerians, and even Africa. So we're able to relate or communicate effectively across organizations using this platform. We also have what we call the Notch CRM. Now our softwares are both called Notch, so you can Google Notch, Notch HR, Notch CRM. They are all products of ATB Tech. We have over 1,000 users currently on the Notch HR and over 200 users on the CRM platform currently. Now, in terms of technology services, we're able to support organizations, to migrate from cloud to, from on-prem to cloud. We specialize in systems integration. We're big on cybersecurity, and in terms of the digital transformation journey, we're big on it. So we're happy to talk with you. We're happy to discuss collaboration. We're happy to support or help you to build capacity in the area of technology, in the area of technology. And for organizations who are looking to transform or to embrace the digital transformation, we are available. We're that one-stop shop and that friend that you would like to have. Thank you so much. We have our booth here. We have the ATB Tech at the pavilion, and we'll be available to respond to questions and whatever it is that you'd want to know about technology and what ATB Tech can do to support you in your digital transformation journey. Once again, my name is Sonia Dodo, and the company is ATB Tech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ATB Tech. Please, I would like us to make this very brief as possible. So up next is the Fairmont Shark. Are they here? The Fairmont Shark. All right, how about IHS? All right. So can we move to the founders mixers right now? So for the founders mixers, it's actually a networking session. So we have the Microsoft and also the ATF lounge. So are they ready? Microsoft ATF lounge. And also for the hackathon, it has been moved to tomorrow. So for those of us who are actually anticipating for it, it has been shifted till tomorrow. So let's be here tomorrow morning by 8:30, inshallah. We're going to kickstart. Thank you. So while we're waiting for Microsoft ATF launch, can we have a very soft, music as we continue? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. International DJ, thank you so very much. Distinguished guests, technocrat, industry giants, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's program. Today was just a tip of an iceberg. I promise you tomorrow is going to take you by surprise. See you tomorrow, same time, which is by 8:30 a.m., same venue. Before I go, my name is MC Fabs. It is an absolute honor to be your host for today. See you tomorrow. Thank you so very much.